just stay in that heart space. Bring yourself into that heart space. Take a deep breath. And just be here now with me as we pray in this morning. I am so grateful to be here with this community, knowing that there is only Spirit, that God is all there is. There is God and nothing else. And this thought opens and expands my heart and my mind. And in that, I know that each one of us is a part of this divine presence, this divine essence that we know to be all good. And that we are here to express all of that good as we go about each minute of our day, whether it's something mundane or something sacred, something important, or something just so trivial. That we are here to give expression to that Spirit which lives, moves, and has its being in us, because it is all that we are. So I declare this morning to be a time of joy, a time of expansion, a time of opening of minds and hearts. I know that the musicians bring us their beautiful music, their beautiful hearts and souls through their instruments, through their voices. I know that Reverend Barb's message is exactly what we need to hear to continue sparking our imagination, to make the world a better place, a more loving place for ourselves and for everyone else. And so knowing that because we are guided and guarded by this presence of love that is ever at work in our lives, I can let this word go, I can let it be. And we can all affirm this together for ourselves if we choose by saying, and so it is. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that you're all here with us. This song is called See the World by Brett Dennen, and I think it has a really wonderful message and kind of taps into some things that I've been thinking about since the climate report, and thinking about our world and how it's beautiful, and we should try to preserve it and see it while we can. So this is See the World. Hold on just a second, I'm having a pedal malfunction. I'm going to start that over one more time. There we go. Where are you going, my brown-eyed son? You used to crawl, but now you run. You started off on a road half dark, and the river curled into a question mark. Will you sleep on diamond beaches, dear, and drink from prism streams so clear? You don't have to be rich to get around. There are mansions growing out of the ground. Days go by, get out and see the world. Days go by, get out and see the world with your own eyes. Now the journey took you far from home and pushed you out of your comfort zone. There are kids out there with war paint on, and hearts break like crayons. Before you left, the world was small. Now the hills are bleeding like waterfalls. that are buried shallow, and cries for help with no echoes. Days go by, get out and see the world. Days go by, get out and see the world with your own eyes. It's hard to see what you're going through. Just knowing can be up on you. You'll spend some time in the waiting place, and the purest things may leave no trace. Go up the mountain top and shine, all reflected on my long decline. I've gathered sunsets in my prime. Now I'm planting trees I'll never climb. Days go by, get out and see the world. Days go by, get out and see the world with your own eyes. Days go by, get out and see the world. Days go by, get out and see the world with your own eyes. Ooh.
Oh my gosh, you are a remarkable human. Thank you. All right, Heart Tribe, let's do that thing that we do. Touch your heart. Take 3 deep breaths. Try breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Allow that stream of breath to move through you, in and out. And then say with me, care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Good morning, Heart Tribe. It's so good to be with you. So John Keats, he's been around for a while, but he wrote, "I am certain of nothing but the holiness of the heart's affections and the truth of the imagination. I am certain of nothing but the holiness of the heart's affections and the truth of the imagination." So I thought I was on one road in writing my talk for today, and then yesterday morning, as I was working on it again, I read this story. Sometimes when I'm trying to write and I'm stuck, I'm spelunking, I'm doing, the distracted spelunking, call it, and I stumbled on this story in the Atlantic Monthly, and about a family. It was written by a woman named Jennifer Senior. I'll send the link out later if anybody wants to read it. But this family, they're kind of your average family, 2 boys, long marriage, really solid people. Other people found them extraordinary in their kindness and in their positive outlooks and their attitudes. Their oldest son, Bobby, was described as incandescent, very focused he was a good athlete. He was a good scholar. His high school team actually played against Kobe Bryant's high school team, and he made a couple of points over Kobe. And this was like a story for him for the long haul. And super smart kid. He made it into Princeton. So Bobby goes through Princeton. He's doing life. He's doing his thing. He and his friend, they moved to New York to try to make it in New York, right? Bobby went one morning then to help another friend set up for a meeting at a building in Manhattan. It was 9/11, and Bobby didn't come out of the building. So this beautiful story was about the tangled webs we make of grief, how everyone grieves in their own way. A therapist in the story described grief grief in a family as everyone being dropped on the top of a mountain and having to find their own way down. Now, the other thing about Bobby was that he wanted to write. That was part of the reason that he was in New York, was to be in publishing. And he had started in high school keeping journals and notepads all the time. And so his family, which now included a fiance, reached for his words about his life to deal with their grief. Now, it turned out in his writing, he was also kind of a Yoda-like dude. And, he had a lot of really amazing statements in his writings that would have become something. But when his fiance wrote his eulogy, she said that in his last journal, he had been musing about death somehow. And he had written these words: "Life loves on." Life loves on. So "life loves on" became words of hope, a mantra for all of them. His father had it tattooed on his arm. His mother had it engraved on a bracelet. It helped them through, although now 20 years later, they know they'll never be through, that grief leaves a person-shaped space in your heart. Now, through the mishaps of communication while deeply, deeply, profoundly grieving, there was a split between the parents and the fiance, and she moved out of their lives. And in the 20 years since, you believe it's been 20 years since 9/11, but in the 20 years since, she's gotten married, had kids, and had stored this journal because she kept this last journal in her possession, and that was part of the split. And until now, because this writer who happened to know this family came along to write this story, and the fiance agreed to be interviewed and dug out the journal, and this was the first time anyone's looked at it again. And as they really examined it, they realized that what he actually wrote was "life lives on," not "life loves on." All these years with the mantra. And you know what? They realized it didn't matter that he actually wrote something else, that love is what they needed to hear back then. It was what they needed to survive this awful tragedy, and they understood that love, what was truly reflected back to them through Bobby's life and loving on, was who and how they wanted to continue to be. They recognized that the universe had given them, through Bobby's scrawly, sloppy handwriting, exactly what they needed. "I am certain of nothing but the holiness of the heart's affections and the truth of the imagination. Life loves on." Now, you might be wondering how this has anything to do with a talk about imagination as a leading edge spiritual conduit. And I think it starts with this. In every moment, we are imagining something. We are imagining what we experienced yesterday. We are imagining what we might experience tomorrow. Right now, you might be imagining what's for lunch. Ernest Holmes wrote, "Creation is the play of life upon itself through divine self-imagination." Creation is the play of life upon itself through divine self-imagination. Now, we know, because we've been studying this thing called the science of mind, that our thought is creative. So when we are imagining, we are at the source of creating. And the universe, it responds to the feeling of what it is that we're wanting to create. So we might be saying, for example, that we want to create a more abundant, more loving life. But if we are anchored in past fear or past hurt, or we are imagining from a place of lack of resources or lack of understanding, guess what? We keep repeating our cycles. And I think this is true. I know this is true not only in our individual lives, but in our life as community, collective community in the world. That unless we can bring a place of faith and understanding and compassion, care, kindness to our imagining as the basis of our imagining, we are going to continue to repeat. So what if we began our imagining intentionally? What if we grounded our imagining in that absolute faith that love is the basis of all of life, and that no matter what appears to be happening, life loves on? Now, I know it sounds a little bit like I'm asking you to bury your head in the sand, and I know that those of you who have been with me for a while know that I have never done that. I am always about the reality of things, like what is really happening. Let's not ignore what's really happening, and let's take care of what's really happening. But if we are going to imagine another way of being, I think we have to elevate the start of our imagining. We deal with what is from a place of love and understanding, and then we imagine what could be from a place of love and understanding. I feel like life loves on is fertilizer for a greater yet to be. Now, I've been contemplating a lot over the last few months this thing that we say all the time, that we are about creating a world that works for everyone. It's kind of our movement mantra, right? We're going to create a world that works for everyone. And I realized something. I don't know about you, but when I think about this idea, what's the world that works for everyone, my initial default is very, call it self-centric. I have a great life. And so if the world is going to work for everyone, then everyone must want to have a life like mine, right? I mean, I think it's kind of our simple default. We think of, we have a great life, so everyone must want to have a great life, and great life looks like this to me. Do you ever do this? But the more I travel, and the more I meet people in our ministries around the world, the more I realize that while my life is really great for me, my life is not what everyone else wants at all. And the same thing applies again in our wider circles. Everyone does not want our system of government. They definitely don't want our healthcare. They don't want our same stuff or our same work ethic. They don't want all of what we do that works for us. And who am I to be in any kind of judgment about that? What a beautiful thing if I can bring my imagination and my faith to your vision for your life. And you can do the same for me, and you can do the same for others. And then energetically, we begin to build that world that works for all from a place of loving kindness, and not a place of judgment about what it should look like. Not even a place of imagining what it looks like for other people, but a place of actually being in the place of being open to what it looks like for them. So what kind of came to me in this is that there's sort of three levels of Imagineering, and I'm sure there are more. These were the three that came to me. The first was imagining from the place of fear and control and scarcity and lack. And we don't really need to talk about that anymore, because we all know that we've wanted to leave that behind. But we don't have to imagine the life that has all of that starts there in that place of fear and control and scarcity and lack. That we can begin to imagine life, our life, others' lives, from a place where we have this faith that all things are moving towards greater good. Because the truth of it is that always there has been an upward and outward expansion of consciousness, and all things have always grown to greater yet to be. And we could anchor ourselves in that. And so the second way is from possibility and curiosity and questions, kind of like what we do in visioning. What's possible? What is the universe calling me to? When we get into that inward place and we're like listening, there's a place of listening that is imagination also. Not that it's imagination, we hear things. So, it's an interesting, that's a whole other talk. But we go at it from a place of pure possibility and a place of curiosity and a place of what might be possible. And then I think there's another way. There is a way of anchoring ourselves in the absolute truth of this always upward and outward expansion of awareness and consciousness, and that we are part of it. We are in it. It moves through us, with us, as us. When we are imagining from the place of what is the greatest call of love upon me? What is the greatest call of love lives on within me? Then what is mine to do? What does my life begin to look like? And how do I impact the lives of others? From a complete knowing, an anchored and complete knowing that good will prevail. And that we might all have to get our hands dirty and pitch in to help it move forward. This has been a year. It's like a year and a half now, right? It's just this so interesting time. And it's easy right now to get very caught in inertia and sorrow. It's easy to get caught in anger and frustration. It's easy to get caught in right or left and wrong or right. It is much more focused, intentional work to remember the truth. You were born to reveal love, and love is who you eternally are. And what if together we all began to imagine a world anchored in those beautiful words? Beautiful worlds. There's more than one world. We could impact all of them. Those beautiful words, however, life loves on. I want to live there. I want to live in that place. I want to live in the place that is created from that. That's where I want to live next. And while we are creating that world, I want to remind you of the simple things, that you are an incandescent being of life, and life loves on through you, that the force is always with you. And I want to ask that in this week that you open yourself up, that you open your heart and your mind, and you just sit in this moment knowing that evidence of great love will appear for you in every day of this week. You don't have to go searching for it. You don't have to strive for it. Sit back, take a breath, and be open to it. I'm going to keep it tight today. I want to share this beautiful poem I stumbled on also yesterday with you before I close with a prayer. And this guy, his name is John Rodell. He lives in Cheyenne. I think I'm going to track him down. You're going to love this poem. I think I'm going to track him down and see if he'll come do an interview service with us at some point. But he writes this. He says, "My brain and heart divorced a decade ago over who was to blame about how big of a mess I have become. Eventually, they couldn't be in the same room with each other. Now my head and my heart share custody of me. I stay with my brain during the week, and my heart gets me on the weekends. They never speak to one another. Instead, they give me the same note to pass to each other every week, and their notes they send to one another always say the same thing. This is your fault. On Sundays, my heart complains about how my head has let me down in the past, and on Wednesday, my head lists all the times my heart has screwed things up for me in the future. They blame each other for the state of my life. There's been a lot of yelling and crying. So lately, I've been spending a lot of time with my gut, who serves as my unofficial therapist. Most nights, I sneak out of the window in my rib cage and slide down my spine and collapse on my gut's plush leather chair that's always open for me. And I just sit until the sun comes up. Last evening, my gut asked me if I was having a hard time being caught between my heart and my head. I nodded. I said I didn't know if I could live with either of them anymore. My heart is always sad about something that happened yesterday, while my head is always worried about something that may happen tomorrow. I lamented. My gut squeezed my hand. I just can't live with my mistakes of the past or my anxiety about the future. I sighed. My gut smiled and said, in that case, go stay with your lungs for a little while. I was confused. The look on my face gave it away. If you're exhausted about your heart's obsession with the fixed past and your mind's focused on the uncertain future, your lungs are a perfect place for you. There is no yesterday in your lungs. There is no tomorrow there either. There is only now. There is only inhale. There is only exhale. There's only this moment. There is only breath, and in that breath you can rest while your heart and your head work out their relationship. This morning, while my brain was busy reading tea leaves, and while my heart was staring at old photographs, I packed a little bag and walked to the door of my lungs. Before I could even knock, she opened the door with a smile, and as a gust of air embraced me, she said, "What took you so long?" Source is with you, my friends, and if you want to just take that moment, what took you so long, take that breath, go within and be with me in this moment of prayer. where I know absolutely this one life, one love, one God, one spiritual universe, this one force that encompasses, envelops, and holds all of us. That love lives on. Life loves on. I know in this moment, this deep connection to all that is, from the ground up, that there is this web of life moving through each of us. And as we connect with one another across what is perceived as time and space, we become together. That we become in this moment more loving. We become in this moment more kind and more compassionate. We become in this moment greater open vessels of possibility for the life not only that we love, but the life that is loved by all. And this day I surround us, I surround this community, our people, all people, but specifically some of our people who are hurting, who are feeling alone or lonely, who are feeling this place of anxiety between what's coming and sadness about anything. I hold a special place in my heart for our beloved Chuck and Nancy as they maneuver through the grief and the loss, as they move through knowing that this leaves a hole in all of our hearts, and yet love lives in this moment. And I ask you to join me in knowing that there is this beautiful possibility of what is next for New Thought Northern Colorado, that as we move and breathe and have this thing called community, common unity, that we are finding our way forward to be together in whatever way is safe, whatever way fulfills each of us in our own way. I know that the right place and the right time is right here, right now. We are doing what is in front of us in every moment. I call these arms of grace around anyone today who wants them. And I give thanks. I give thanks for this beautiful opportunity to come together. I give thanks that the pandemic happened after Zoom was created, and after Facebook was created, and after YouTube was created, and that in this, what seems like such a difficult time is also a perfect time because we can still be together. I give thanks for the connections and this web of life and love that flow through this community in every single day. I give thanks for the people who are stepping up to support those who are in need. Oh my gosh, I give thanks for you every single day. I know that life loves on, that we are anchored in the truth of our being, that we are anchored in the truth of our spiritual life, and that this place of knowing that good is revealing itself throughout time and space in every moment of every day. No matter what the circumstances look like, there is something good moving through and upward and outward. And I hold on to that truth. And I know that the universe responds to our word. This word we share together, it responds to us in amazing, beautiful, and surprising ways. And I leave room to be surprised and delighted by what comes back in my prayer, from my word, from your word, from the thought that you are holding right now with me. I give thanks for all of it. And I ask you to join me in saying that very simple yet profound, and so it is.